Good evening, community, and welcome to Both Sides of the Conversations Hidden Gem Show. I am your co host, standing in for our amazing executive director who's out in the community, John Henry. And I will be going it alone this evening, you guys. We have an amazing featured guest tonight coming on for you guys, and I'm going to go ahead and get right into the news. A 69-year-old pedestrian, Sammy Davis, died after being struck by the rear of a minibus in San Francisco Soma district. Initial reports claim that the Cruise autonomous vehicle delayed an ambulance, contributing to Davis's death. However, in a joint statement, the San Francisco Fire Chief and the San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency clarified that while the Cruise vehicle's involvement did contribute to the incident, it did not directly cause the death. Cruise, backed by General Motors, denied claims that its vehicle obstructed the ambulance, emphasizing their commitment to road safety. A cold front that moved across the Northern California resulted in freezing conditions in the Bay Area. While no precipitation was observed, the cool air from the Pacific Ocean blew inwards. Consequently, the Bay Area's temperatures on Tuesday are expected to decrease by 10 degrees compared to Monday. While the morning might have started out patchy with clouds, predominantly sunny afternoon, and anticipating temperatures raising from the mid to 60s and the close to 70s near the bay, especially over the North Bay, making for a potentially colorful sunset, followed by a widespread low clouds and patchy fog overnight. Five former Memphis police officers have been federally indicted in connection with the fatal beating of 29-year-old Tyree Nichols following a traffic stop and brief foot pursuit earlier this year. The indicted officers, Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, Emmett Martin III, Desmond Mills Jr., and Justin Smith, face charges including federal civil rights, conspiracy, and obstructive offenses. Body camera surveillance footage publicly released contradicted the officers' initial report of the incident. The event reignited national discussions on police brutality and led to protests in several major U.S. cities. The officers are also facing state charges and a federal civil lawsuit. They were previously dismissed from their Memphis Police Department. In 2022, the U.S. witnessed a significant surge in poverty, particularly among children, largely due to Congress' decision not to renew the enhanced child tax credit introduced during the COVID-19 pandemic. Data showed that 12.4% of children were in poverty in 2022, up to 5.2% in 2021, marking the biggest increase in child poverty since the supplemental poverty measure began in 2009. Overall, the supplement poverty rate rose 12.4% from 7.8% in the previous year. The median household income fell by 2.3% from 2021. Adjusting for inflation, while the underinsured rate decreased slightly by 7.9%. President Joe Biden has urged Congress to reinstate the tax credit enhancement. And now onto our events. Jamouia Research Institute is hosting a virtual info session on Saturday, September 16th at 10 a.m. to discuss community action research from African-centered ways of understanding. The San Francisco Human Rights Commission will host the last community engagement session, September 17th, in the Tenderloin. Let your voice be heard at the San Francisco Human Rights Commission Board of Supervisors hearing on final reparations recommendations on Tuesday, September 19th. There will be a rally on City Hall steps at 12 p.m. and the hearing starts at 3 p.m. in City Hall, room 250, 1 Dr. Carlton B. Goodlett Place in San Francisco. APRI and Swinnerton are teaming up to bring you the STEM at the Park for high school students who have passion for exploring careers in STEM fields. Saturday, September 23rd, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Indian Basin Shoreline Park in San Francisco. New vaccination site, COVID-19 booster and monkeypox antiviral pill treatment, Thursdays 1 through 5 p.m. at 330 Ellis Street, as well as Saturdays 12 to 4 p.m. at 1221 Mission Street. The community living room, open all day, Monday through Friday, breakfast 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and grab and go lunch from 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. at City of Hope Cafe, 750 Ellis Street in San Francisco. Join the conversation at the YMCA's Men's Harambe Cuts Shop Talk for ages 14 and up with complimentary refreshments and swag. Thursday, October 12th, 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at Bayview YMCA, 1601 Lane Street in San Francisco. Push Dance Company's Sanctuary Grand Opening will be Sunday, October 15th at 447 Mina Street in San Francisco. Tickets are on sale now. International Shakeout Day, October 19th. Join in on the world's largest earthquake drill. Register to participate. YCD presents the second annual District 10 Safety Plan Violence Prevention Peace Rally. There will be food, raffles, music, and more. Saturday, October 21st, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Monarch Gardens, 428 11th Street in San Francisco. San Francisco Safe will have a Halloween candy explosion on Saturday, October 29th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Admission is free, and the event will include food, carnival games, music, and more at Gilman Park, 903 Gilman Avenue in San Francisco. Farmers Market located at the Southeast Community Center, 1550 Evans Avenue in San Francisco. Every Thursday now until November 30th from 3 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. They accept cash, debit, and EBT. OMI Cultural Participation Projects, The Lion King, Friday, December 8th, 7:30 p.m. at the Orpheum Theater, 1192 Market Street in San Francisco. Wu Yi presents the Holiday Pajama Jam for the Bottles and Blanket Pantry on Saturday, December 16th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at 4900 3rd Street in San Francisco. They are a new nonprofit, so donations are needed. OMI Cultural Participation Projects, The Wiz, Saturday, January 27th, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. at the Golden Gate Theater, 1 Taylor Street in San Francisco. SF Human Rights Commission has a regular bi-monthly commission meeting on the second and fourth Thursday of each month at 5 p.m. in the City Hall Room 416. You can also attend via Zoom. Be a mentor in SFUSD. Join SFUSD's school-based mentoring program, Mentoring for Success. Sign up to volunteer as an individual and or group district-wide. Would you like to promote your business, nonprofit, or community impact? Sign up for our Hidden Gems show. Share your expertise on our Educational Thursday or be a panelist on our Sunday conversation. Keep up with both sides of the conversation's latest shows and community outreach events. Follow us on all social media platforms. You can also subscribe to our newsletter at bsotc.org. BSOTC welcomes individuals who are interested in giving back to their community to join us as volunteers. We value the positive impact volunteers can make and invite you to be a part of our mission to uplift and support our community. BSOTC kindly requests your invaluable support for our podcast and community engagement endeavors. We cordially invite you to explore any of our donation links, as your generous contributions will greatly aid us in enhancing our programming. We would like to take this time to acknowledge the Dreamkeeper Initiative and its support of BSOTC's programming. The Dreamkeeper Initiative amplifies the voices of and invests in San Francisco's diverse Black communities to reform public safety and address structural inequities in San Francisco. Join us this Thursday, September 14th at 7 p.m. for our Life Insurance Awareness Month special. Sunday's conversation, September 17th at 4 p.m., Understanding and Combating Health Disparities. And now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our evening guest, our featured guest, Mrs. Cassandra James. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight.
Yes. How are you doing?
I am doing pretty good.
Awesome.
So, yes, thank you for asking.
So I'm going to give you your amazing introduction, and then you can tell us all about your running campaign.
Okay, thank you.
Cassandra is a multi-hyphenate change maker. Presently, she is a senior community development strategist and mayor in the mayor's office for San Francisco County, and serves as a vice chair of the city of Vallejo's Housing and Community Development Commission, board vice president of Black Women Organizing for Political Action, Solano and Napa chapter steering committee member for Vallejo Housing and Justice Coalition, elected delegate for California's Assembly District 11, and a Rules Committee member of the California Democratic Party. Cassandra also holds a bachelor's degree from Mills College in politics, economics, policy, and law. She is an Emerge California alum and is a candidate for the Solano County Board of Supervisors, District 1. Her great-grandmother, Julia Calmer, is one of the Big Five in Bayview Hunters Point. So, tell us all about this amazing upcoming campaign.
So, for the upcoming campaign, I decided to run for a Solano County Board of Supervisor here in, of course, Solano County. So, I currently live in Vallejo, and I always tell folks I'm a displaced San Franciscan because the cost of living, you have to be able to like work 4 jobs, still sell fried fish on the side, and a little bit more in order to stay in the city. So, about more than 10 years ago, I did move to Vallejo due to the cost of living and been out here just being more involved in community. Hence, that's how I was raised. But this year, one of the incumbents is retiring, so there's an opportunity for someone to represent that seat, to represent the community overall. So decided to run, and with this seat represents 2/3 of Vallejo. And if you're familiar with Vallejo, it includes like Georgia Street, which is like downtown Vallejo, all the way to Hidden Brook, and that's including like the Marine World and the fairgrounds and like the Costco area up there. So just let me know what else or what else you want to know about this race.
Well, a little more about you. I heard you say you are a San Francisco native. Woo woo.
Yes.
Me, myself, I am too, District 10. Okay.
All right.
And so I want to know your grandmother, great grandmother, should I say, Miss Julia Calmer. How has her legacy in Bayview Hunters Point inspired your public service?
Ooh, so I know the shoulders that I stand on, right? So, understanding her legacy and how she showed up time and time again to fight for the co-op housing, to fight for resources, to fight for safe communities, particularly in Bayview Hunters Point. It helped me, or it guided me into the work that I currently do. So I remember I went to Philiburton last class when it was still an academic high school. So, and I remember at that time, and it was something so silly around Philiburton at that time. It was a uniform school. So, and for picture day, you get to dress in free dress. But I remember they shut down picture day because they were like, no free dress, you have to wear a uniform. But because of, and that's why I say it's silly, but I knew the power of community. So being able to talk to like the other students and talking to friends about like our rights and how we can band together and how we need to continue to show up to the administration, that was her legacy. And that's what I witnessed growing up. And that's what I've heard time and time again was her talking about getting the community together, educating them, making sure that they're aware, continuously to show up in front of whether it's the mayor or the board of supervisors or like community ambassadors or leaders, just to inform them of what's happening. And if they're not listening, then you need to show them that you're not playing any games. So that's how her legacy really helped me. And that's really was the pathway for me getting into the work, because from that high school riot that we started, I ended up joining or was a youth commissioner for Bayview Hunters Point.
Well, I do appreciate that, Riot. My son is a sophomore at Burton now, and he loves his free dress. So thank you for the movement. Definitely thank you for the movement. I'd like to know, running for Solano County, being from San Francisco, working in the mayor's office, how has that influenced and or had an impact on what's shaping your approach for Solano County?
So moving to Solano County, very much, when I first moved to Solano County, I was coming to the city every day. So, and I was coming to the city just to have that connection. Either it was the services that was there, like going to a school that was there, hanging out there, because that's what I was familiar with, until like the reality hit that I can't afford to do that. Right. And then I started to look around at Vallejo and looking around Solano County, like, why don't we have a rapid transportation system? Why are there lack of programs and services here? Why am I went from Bayview Hunters Point to the Crest? So, and I always tell folks that, because it's historically Black communities, right? But it's like looking around and looking at the redlining that impacted Vallejo just as much as it impacted the city, and trying to figure out, how do I reestablish my political capital? How do I reestablish social capital? And when I had my sons, who are Vallejoans, I gave birth to the next generation here, and really saying, like, how, like, I want to make sure they go to a good school. I want to make sure that they can connect with kids from different neighborhoods. Because I remember riding the 15 from Aptis to Revere, and being able to like connect with kids from Lakeview and from the Point and from Sunnydale, and like making these like wholesome friendships. And I want the same for my sons, whether they are making friends in the Crest or in the Vistas or whatever part of Vallejo that they may be in. But there was a gap. And also what I noticed is there was a lot of people who were displaced or who now lives in Vallejo, but wasn't connected to any of the like community events, wasn't connected to City Hall, didn't really know what was happening. In all honesty, half of them wasn't even registered to vote. So a lot of policies and a lot of things were happening that were impacting us, and we didn't have any say in that. So being here, like, that's why I said, like, doing that deep dive and making sure that, one, we are reestablishing like political and social capital here, and making sure that folks know like we are anchored here and we are staying, and we want to make sure that we have a better community for our kids. And then also bringing resources here. A lot of folks talk about, well, San Francisco, like, they got the resources. I'm like, San Francisco have the resources because they went after the resources. And we need the same thing for Vallejo. Like, you have to go after the resources. We have to break things down into, okay, there are grants for housing. There are grants for social justice programs. There are grants for public assistance. Like, there are these things that are out there that the city has to go after. And if they aren't familiar with that, because it's, again, a different population or a growing city, they won't know what to do with that. So being in that role, being a San Francisco native, having that grace and grit and hustle to go after things, and also like being now a Vallejoan, a mom to two Vallejo boys, I know, like, at least making that connection to those who are born and raised here, and not wanting them to be displaced, because I understand how that feels, but also knowing we need to make room for those that are displaced and that are moving here, and being able to create this community where we all can thrive.
I really appreciate the fact that you are building community. That is so important. And it doesn't matter where you are, being displaced and all, you are trying to make sure that your boys have that same grounded foundation and village that you were awarded being in San Francisco. Like you said, I'm from San Francisco, grew up in the Point, so everywhere you just named, I'm like, yeah, we used to walk down the hill and everybody would go catch the bus. I understand that. And having it to be a safe place for your children so they don't feel like, that, oh, because I don't know who that is, I can't go approach that person, and just because they're from different areas in Vallejo does not mean that they cannot come together and build community with one another. So I really appreciate that. On the subject of being displaced, we all know San Francisco's housing prices are crazy. So for Solano County, as Vice Chair of Vallejo's Housing Commission and VHJC member, what housing reforms would you prioritize for Solano County?
Solano County, we basically need like tenant protections. So there is no tenant protections like there are in San Francisco. So it's just bringing that foundation of rent control, making sure that there's a cap on rent control every year, ensuring what are your rights living in public housing or having a voucher. There needs to be some just protections around our voucher holders, and also the education piece around and landlord engagement, because you have, again, it's this myth of like voucher holders where they or this myth of voucher holders that they may destroy property. And that's not the case at all. Yeah, we have a bad apple in every group, but that doesn't mean that you can deny someone housing because they simply have a voucher. So these are some, like, those are the three things I will do around housing: is the rent control, basic voucher, education, landlord engagement, and also expanding additional services for those voucher holders and those that live in public housing here.
And then so just to expand on that, housing, would that be like for the low income? I know when we say vouchers, it's like for the Section 8, and the qualifications have changed so vastly for even being able to award it, get on the wait list, let alone be awarded a voucher. And like you said, because a lot of landlords, they have that inkling in their mind, and it comes with the bad stigma that people who are on these vouchers will destroy your property. So would what you're advocating for be just for the low income, or would you be advocating also for just rent prices alone, getting the word out to these landlords that giving a chance to people who hold the vouchers? How would that look for you?
So in that, we have to have an honest conversation about the Bay Area AMI. So a family of four making 120,000 is considered living below poverty. That's to Bay Area standards. So this will be opening up a different I don't want to say can of worms, but this will be a different advocacy where we are advocating to have a California poverty limit. A lot of our programs are based off of the federal poverty limit, and we know that California and in the Bay Area in particular, our minimum wage is a lot higher than the federal minimum wage. So we often are not accepted or not approved for certain benefits. So that would be like a regional plan to how do we advocate to our federal leaders, or how do we advocate to our state leaders in order to expand that poverty limit. So that will be something like twofold. But again, that's working in San Francisco, but living in Vallejo. Me alone, like if I were alone, I'm considered above the I won't qualify for any programs. I still don't qualify. My family of four, we don't qualify for any programs, although we have to commute to, or I have to commute to San Francisco to go to
Mm.
work. Although we know that the cost of food is going up, although we know the cost of rent is increasing, and that's why I keep saying like the rent control, because there is no rent control here. So you may come in. When I first moved here, I had a 1 bedroom apartment. It was $850 a month. The following year, my rent went up to $1,100, and, and I was like, "Whoa, what's the percentage on rent control?" They were like, "Oh, we could go up this amount." So that's why I was focused on that. But I will also say that they do have programs for first time home buyers. But again, that's if you're making $73,000 a year. And I just said that a family of four, if you're making 120,000, you're below poverty limit, and that 73,000 minimum comes from the federal government.
When you hear those numbers, that's just like, that's so scary to even think about that. And then how drastic everything has changed within, like you said, food, commute, and all of those things. Those things are not even implemented when they are saying, okay, you have to make this certain amount of money, not excluding what you have to actually spend just to get by day. And so for me, I say I did the same thing. I had to do the same thing moving from San Francisco to the East Bay, because it was like there was just no way. A mother of two and trying to stay in San Francisco. I do work in San Francisco. Both boys go to school in San Francisco, but we have to get up and commute, and that's still cheaper. It's still cheaper with bills and everything. It's still cheaper to live across the bay and commute than to even stay in San Francisco. And that's so unfortunate. And hopefully, with what you are advocating for Vallejo, a lot of people, I know there aren't, well, I don't have the stats on that, but jobs, because people have to commute outside of Vallejo and there aren't that many job opportunities. Hopefully, what you're advocating for will save some strain and some stress on these people. Everyone who is going to try, and go out for those vouchers and things like that. So, as a part of the Democratic Party shift, uh, how does your role, or how will your role guide your vision for Solano County?
That's a good question. So I think one of the things that, and just to go back real quick, this is excluding bridge tolls and fast track and the impact that has on um, low income wage earners, but particularly the impact that it has on Black and Brown communities, because oftentimes, uh, Black and Brown communities are the ones that are commuted in, due to San Francisco's workforce diversity. And when you said Vallejo's job, the top three jobs or top three employers here in Vallejo is Sutter, Kaiser, and the city of Vallejo. And with that, we know that sometimes, not we know sometimes, but we know that there are barriers within certain systems, especially the education system, where a lot of folks, particularly from Black and Brown communities, have a hard time navigating. But that is a minimum requirement in order for you to get the job. Just wanted to uplift that. But as far as like being a Democrat and my vision here, it's funny when people say that, and I hate like the labels, because in San Francisco, I always tell folks in the city I grew up with progressives and Democrats. So I always found myself in the middle or a moderate. But here they're like, oh, you're highly progressive. And I was like, no, the thing is, we just need basic things in order for us to thrive and survive. And how do we move from surviving to thriving? And I think like my vision again is to Solano County is very much a part of the nine Bay Area counties. Solano County needs to be tapped into the overall conversations around like housing security and the housing safety net. Also, Solano County needs to tap into the fact that we're close to Silicon Valley, like one of the richest places in the entire world. And why are we not tapping into that to have these public-private partnerships? And I think that's one of my main vision is to make sure that Solano County is tapped into those public-private partnerships and to be bold and creating and recreate and redesigning policies that impact all communities. So, and not being scared to say, hey, we would love to partner with you to do for example, a fines and fee program, because we have a lot of residents that have to commute into the city and they may have astronomical fast track bills and they may be driving illegal, and that may be putting them and funneling them into a different system. So like, let's be bold in creating a fines and fee program that will pay for fast track, whatever the case may be. And this is just off the top of my head, but that's one of like my visions, is to make that connection, because oftentimes, or what happens is Solano County tends to be a silo. And it's in between Sacramento and the Bay Area, right? But it's very much a part of the Bay Area and needs to tap into those resources and needs to be at the regional roundtable when we're having conversations around violence prevention, again, housing, expanding that workforce diversity.
So on that subject as well, resources. San Francisco does have so many resources. They have programs for homeless getting into shelters, homeless, programs to where you go through a shelter and you can someday accommodate your own space and living. What resources, especially around the housing market, do you hope to bring to Solano County?
One thing is just a shelter. Believe it or not, Vallejo only has one shelter, and Vallejo does not house any shelters for survivors of domestic violence. So when I say there's like a bare bone of services and resources here, like this is something very much new to a lot of folks here. And every time that I talk about like, hey, San Francisco has this and this and that, and they're like, we're not San Francisco and we don't get San Francisco dollars. I was like, but the thing is that the blueprint is there. And we need to wash, rinse, repeat. And how do we make sure that we get to the table? And we could tell Contra Costa County, Alameda County, the city and county of San Francisco, we don't want to take any resources, but we want to know how it's done in order for us to provide better resources for our residents.
I'm not looking for a handout. Show me the blueprint. That's exactly it. And I think that some people get up in arms and are gatekeepers, right? And you want to keep it all for yourself. But if you really realize, if you actually think about it, the more that you expand and help in other counties, that gives your county more space, because we have people coming over from other counties using addresses, you know what I mean, just to get these resources. And that's unfortunate. If in the political cabinet, they actually shared the information, we can build up each county, and that's also building community. It's not about being reserved and keeping everything for yourself, but once you have your thing established, like I always say, when you get to a certain peak, it's not about competition, it's about collaboration. So when you get to a certain point, you want to make sure that you're extending that olive branch in every way. And I really appreciate that you even saying that. Hope somebody's listening. But that is an amazing approach. What other resources? Like I said, they have like homeless prenatal. There's so many resources, and I, for one, was able to tap into a lot of resources in helping doing volunteer work with homeless prenatal. I did volunteer work at Glide Memorial. I've actually had to work in the Tenderloin myself doing desk clerk work, but just seeing what San Francisco is doing and taking that as an initiative, what other resources would you want to see for Solano County, for Vallejo in specifics?
Um, there's a whole bunch of resources. So one, I would say just the city's conversation around reparations and operationalizing equity in the way that services and the way that government works with organizations. So, and we see that around the Dream Keepers initiative, right? In addition to that, also public safety. Public safety is more progressive and radical. And I'm saying radical. Police isn't perfect anywhere, but here Vallejo has the 19th deadliest police force, and if anybody's been watching the news, our police department has declared a state of emergency due to the low numbers. So that's another force. And I remember in the city, I was sitting on the African American Community Policing Relations Board, and this was a group of faith-based leaders, elected leaders, community leaders from both Fillmore and Bayview, and having the conversation around culturally competency training, making sure that officers were aware or trained on working in brown communities, make sure that they had the language and understood criminality versus culture with it. So that's another resource that I would love to bring to Vallejo, Solano County overall. And also another one besides housing, just there are a slew of youth programs here, but they don't get the funding that they need in order to provide um, sustainable programming and support for young people here. So that will be another piece I would love to like do a deeper dive in. It's like, how do we support the organizations that are in the community and that are on the front line to provide services for children, youth, and their families. And speaking of children, youth, and their families, bringing something like a DCYF, Department of Children, Youth, and Families, to Solano County to focus on that population in particular would be just amazing. And having that set aside and how that bond was created in order to fund that department and those programs.
And that would also coincide with what you were saying about, your boys and building community there in Vallejo. I can remember going to the YMCA. I can remember going to Jolie Gym. I was a latchkey kid, and you get to meet so many different people that you didn't even know lived down the street. You know what I mean? Because growing up back then, we had to stay on that block. You know what I mean? Like, you got to stay on your block. Until you go into school or something else, you got to stay on your block. See, if I can't call your name when I go outside, you too far. But
Exactly.
being able to be a part of those organizations growing up, you meet and expand your peer resources, your peer influence, your peer socialization. That would be amazing. And then finding the right people, finding the right people to run these organizations would be amazing. You have so many different hidden gems right there in Vallejo. Like, I would say it is pretty much like what they would say, the undercard. Not too many people tune in to watch that. Not too many people tune in to watch the undercard. However, sometimes that undercard fight is like just as spectacular as the main event. So being able to tap into some of those hidden gems that are right there in Vallejo to get them to start and to pour into these organizations would be amazing. One other question I have for you. We don't want to keep you too long tonight, and I wanted you to be able to give your shout outs and, any spewer that anybody want to give your hats off to. But as a board VP of the BWOPA, how would you advocate for Black women's representation and influence in Solano County in policymaking?
So with Black Women Organized for Political Action, this is a state chapter, and they have different chapters throughout California. From Fresno, San Francisco has a chapter, Solano, Napa. We have a chapter in Contra Costa County. I call Contra Costa County Coco County, okay? But Contra Costa County, which includes, Richmond all the way to Antioch, they have a chapter as well, and even like Oakland, Berkeley, Hayward chapter. But the whole purpose of the organization is to create a pipeline, particularly for Black women, to step in the face, to be the face of politics, and to be able to sit at the table to design politics. I did an interview like a couple of weeks back, and and I told that person, Black women don't have the time to F around and find out. We have to get things right the first time around. And in this group, what it's saying is like, are you on a commission? Do you understand this policy lens? Do you need help with public speaking? How do I bring you into rooms so that way your name is on the tongues of people that may not know you, right? So being the vice president of the Solano Napa chapter, like my thing is bringing women who, again, those who again have been established here, they were born and raised here, to be able to get this bridge or build a bridge between those born and raised here. We understand this is your community, and also the Black women who can no longer afford to live where they were or are here for other reasons, and getting them involved within the community. So I want to and in that, so making sure that they are aware of what's happening, particularly, I know we're Solano Napa chapter, but particularly like where are your county commissions, your county boards, but within your cities as well. Unlike the city and county of San Francisco, they're spoiled to just having one city to focus on everything, and boards and commissions overlap. Being in the county of Solano, but living in the city of Vallejo, Solano County has 7 cities. So whichever city that you're living in, are you aware of what's happening within your city? Are you assigned onto commissions within your city? Do you know who are your local officials? Do you know when they meet? Just having that just basic education and awareness is like the primary goal for me, being vice president. Also just being tapped into how is state policy impacting your local government as well. And again, like even tonight, I will say, in particular, I mentioned earlier how Vallejo has the 19th deadliest police force. And we have a city council meeting that's happening right now, actually, where the Monterosa sisters, their brother Sean Monterosa, a San Franciscan, was shot and killed by a Vallejo police officer. So there's still very much that connection, and they just rehired that officer. So they organized with impacted families of Vallejo and their network within the city to pack our city council meeting that's again happening right now in order to express that frustration. And again, just going back to my role is just making sure that the membership, or my sisters, really, it's not even the members, it's my sisters, making sure that they are very much aware and how that impacts our community. And sorry for that long-winded answer.
No, because I'm about to ask you another one for it. Asking for a friend. How would one get involved with the Black Women's Organization for Political Action?
So, well, for Black women, and for short is BWAPA, because we love our acronyms. So,
Say that again for me, BWAPA.
BWAPA.
I like that.
You can go to the website, and I could pull it up for you right here. But I believe it's bwapatauleads.org, and it will show you all the chapters. You click on whichever city that you live in, or whatever county that you may live in, click on there to join. There is a membership fee. That membership fee goes to making sure you support your organization. And then also in like my chapter, we have a PAC. So when there are Black women who are interested in running, it's more than just getting up there and being smart and being clean and being and having your experience. You have to have money in order to run a race. So we also sometimes we do have fundraisers and do ask for folks to donate to that PAC in order for you to join the group. But that's how you do get involved.
That is amazing. And I love that. And there are chapters in each county in the Bay Area,
Yes,
or
there
is it
it's
nationwide, statewide?
it is statewide. So, and I know in the Bay Area in particular, San Francisco has a chapter. Um, San Francisco, Oakland, Berkeley, then Hayward, Cocoa County, Contra Costa County has a chapter. Solano, Napa, we two counties, but we're one chapter in Sacramento. Although we know sometimes whoever counts Sacramento as Bay Area or not, but I just want to say Sacramento does have a chapter.
When you guys do your fundraising, do all the chapters come together, or is it just based on each county?
So it's based on each county, but they will do like a state fundraiser if we're supporting a state or federal candidate. For example, Barbara Lee is running for U.S. Senator, so there will be a fundraiser to support her race. And then you have like Latifah Simon that's running for Congress seat. That's another fundraiser that may come up where all the chapters will get together, or one chapter will host and the rest of the chapters are invited to be able to fundraise for that candidate.
And so for you, will Solano and Napa be doing a fundraiser or having some type of committee for you for your race? And how would people be able to donate and or be a part of that?
So for Solano Napa chapter, we still have to go through our endorsement process. So I will, and again, it's a fair process because we know the standards are high for our community. So I still have to go through that process. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I will get the endorsement of BWOPA Solano Napa at that moment. But if you want to donate to my campaign, you could do that by going to the website, electcassandrajames.com/donate. Because I am very much a Bay Area girl and I love Bay Area rap. I always ask people, you got 5 on it. When you donate, ask 5 of your friends to donate as well. Because again, it takes a lot of money to run these campaigns. There are 92,000 people that live within the district, and how they count it is you need $1 per person, $1 to $2 per person. So making sure if you donate, you can donate directly to my campaign at electcassandrajames.com/donate. Or if you want to send a check, I know there's some folks that like to send a check. There's a address at the bottom of the website to be able to send a check. But again, I always ask folks, you got 5 on it, make sure to ask 5 people. And if you go to the website, we are having events like this Saturday. We are having a art auction hosted by Karaya Speaks. Shout out to Karaya right here in Vallejo, because again, she's from Oakland and she was like, hey, I want to get involved. So I want to host a fundraiser. So we are having, she's hosting that fundraiser this weekend. And then next week, I'll be having another fundraiser. You'll see a whole list of events. If you want to come out, hang out with us, meet with me, talk one-on-one, please feel free to do that. But also we are asking, we are asking $4 to be able to run this campaign.
I think that the fact that you are a Bay Area native, number one, is amazing. We did have on last week a gentleman, Andre Sanford, who's running for District 18, and he is from Chicago. And I think Chicago, I'm sorry, Michigan. But I was asking him, like, how do you feel about running for office in somewhere you're foreign to, pretty much, and his basis was experience. He had experienced some things that had him wanting to run for these specific reasons to find these solutions. What is your influence and or reasoning for running your campaign?
So the reason that I decided to get in this race is because of my sons. I always tell folks when I do an introduction, regardless, I always start with I'm a mother. and my boys are my North Star. And when I tell people I gave birth to the next generation of Vallejo, I have a stake in what happens here. And I can't sit on the sideline and complain about what's happening if I'm not willing to jump in and be involved and change and shift what's happening. So, like with my, and because of them and because of the work that my partner does in the community, like he's working with formerly incarcerated folks, like we are really grounded here and wanting to make sure that we create a community or we shift the community in order for them to thrive. And not only for them, because when they thrive, their friends thrive, their mamas thrive, cousins thrive, everybody, but they are my North Star and the reason why I decided to run for office. And that's outside of me having a degree in politics, economics, policy, and law. That's besides my own lived experience growing up in public housing and having to duck and dodge because we know the communities that we come from, and being and understanding that I don't want anybody to go to bed hungry. I don't want anybody to worry about not being able to pay their rent. I want people to be able to access this American dream and being able to buy a house or being able to have a safe community. And the turning point for me was when I had to explain the difference between fireworks and gunshots to my son. And that right there was, I can no longer sit on the sideline and complain about what's happening. I now need to be in the seat to be able to shift that conversation and make sure that no other mother will have to explain the difference between fireworks and gunshots to their kids.
I thank you for that. I am a mother of two boys. My eldest turned 16 on August 31st, and my youngest turned 6 yesterday. I appreciate that. There's nothing like the model behavior. What we expect of our children and those around us, we have to model it. And I think that you are a prime candidate for what it is that you stand for and the solutions that you want to bring to Solano County. You are doing the work, boots on the ground, hand in the mud, however you want to say it, you're doing the work. And it shows in you and it exudes in everything that you're saying. I see your passion about your work and everything that you want to do. And I wish you the best of luck. So in closing, I want you to give out any shout outs. Again, you can let them know how to donate to your campaign, any fundraisers that are coming up, any way that people can come and be hands-on and actually helping you succeed in making this change and bringing this future to Solano County, also Vallejo in general.
Yeah. If any, I do want to give a shout out to my dad, Big Mac. So want to give a shout out to HP Finest. So, but all seriousness, please join the campaign, and you could join the campaign by endorsing us. You could join the campaign if you live here, making sure that you're registered to vote here, and also, sorry, I had lost train of thought. Also sign up for updates as well. And again, I'm gonna ask everybody if you got 5 on it, making sure that you donate. I don't care if it's $5, or $500, making sure that you donate, and also asking 5 of your friends to donate or 5 of your family members to donate as well. And you could do that all on the website at www.electcassandrajames.com. Thank you so much.
We thank you so much, and we will see you soon. We will see you soon. We'll have you back on one of our other panels.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much.
Definitely. Thank you, Cassandra.
Thank you. And have a good night.
You too. There you have it, community. Our hidden gem is no longer hidden. Please do your due diligence and get out and vote. To all my Vallejoans, I guess that's what you would say it. Make sure you get out, register, and vote. It is so imperative that we have more people in office who look like us, who can understand our story, and can actually voice what it is that we need for change for our communities. Building community, that is so important. and making sure that we are the face, we are on the forefront of making these changes. I thank you guys for tuning in this evening, and we will see you on Thursday for our next Educational Thursday show. Good night.